James walked into a Honda dealership last month with the feeling most of us know too well, that rare, powerful confidence of someone who has done the work. He'd spent weeks researching. He'd watched every video. He knew the MSRP to the dollar. He was ready. The salesman smiled, led him across the gleaming showroom floor, pointed at the car, and slid a price sheet across the desk. The number at the top was $58,850. James stared at it. The MSRP on Honda's own website was $38,095. The difference, a cold, indifferent line item at the bottom of the page, said market adjustment, $20,000, for absolutely nothing. James walked out. His hands were probably shaking, because it's not just the money that stings, it's the feeling that the game was rigged before he even walked through the door. But here's what makes his story important. Thousands of buyers this month won't leave. They'll sit in that chair, feel the weight of the negotiation, get the adjustment knocked down to $10,000, and drive home feeling like they won a battle they actually lost. They'll be proud of a deal that cost them 2 years of car payments they didn't have to make. This is April 2026. The car market is fractured. Some cars are quietly becoming the best deals in a decade. Others are sitting on lots wearing price tags that are somewhere between aggressive fiction and outright financial predation. The difference between knowing which is which could save you anywhere from $5,000 to $40,000, enough to change the trajectory of your finances. Professor Wealth ran the numbers on 10 specific models. Here's what he found. Number 10, the 2026 Honda Prelude. Start with the car James was looking at. The Prelude's return should have been a feel-good story, a beloved nameplate, a sleek coupe, a car that actually dares to look different in a sea of identical crossovers. The base MSRP is $38,095, honest money for what it is. But dealers looked at the nostalgia attached to that name and decided to charge for it. A Virginia Honda dealer added a $25,000 market adjustment to the only Prelude in the showroom. Then they dropped it and called it a discount. Their deal price of $58,850 was advertised like they were doing you a favor. A California dealer justified $63,850 by telling buyers the car was one of 60 in the state. A quick search showed several other Preludes nearby at $43,195. The scarcity was invented in the moment, a story designed to make you feel lucky instead of foolish. An Arizona dealer went all the way to $64,985. Let that land for a second. That's a Civic Hybrid coupe within $5,000 of a base Corvette Stingray, $3,000 above a fully spec'd Toyota Supra, $22,000 above a 400 horsepower Nissan Z. The mechanical truth is brutal. The Prelude makes 200 horsepower. Honda's own Civic Type R starts at $45,895 and makes 315. You are being asked to pay more money for less performance within the same brand because the badge says Prelude instead of Civic. Honda set a target of 300 Preludes per month. In the car's first full month on sale, 174 moved. Dealers marking them up 30 to 50% are strangling their own brand's momentum, and buyers who pay the markup are funding a pricing lie with their life savings. Wait 60 to 90 days. The adjustment lines will vanish like they were never there. Number 8, the 2025 Maserati Grecale, 321 days. That's how long the average Grecale sits on a dealer lot. Not weeks, not 2 months, almost a full calendar year of a 6-figure car that nobody is buying. That number should tell you everything, but it gets worse. Maserati's global sales collapsed 58% between 2023 and 2025. They sold just 11,000 vehicles worldwide, a brand that lost more than half its customers in 2 years. And yet, for a long time, dealers held prices, as if prestige alone could hold back the tide of indifference. Eventually, the manufacturer blinked. Dealers were told to discount the Grecale Folgore EV for $40,000 on a car that listed at $121,290, a third off sticker. Not because the car improved, because buyers simply believed the number on the window had no relationship with reality. And the people who bought in 2023, a 2023 Grecale has depreciated 50% in 3 years, currently worth around $32,395. That's $10,000 of value disappearing every single year. If you bought at full price, you didn't just experience normal depreciation, you were financially erased. And then there's the ownership experience that nobody warns you about. One owner spent 4 months of a 2-year ownership period in the shop. Air conditioning failures, parking brake problems, Apple CarPlay going dark mid-drive, the engine stalling after repairs were supposed to have fixed it. A car that costs 6 figures and barely functions as transportation. The trident on the hood costs more than the engineering underneath it. Don't let a badge make a financial decision for you. Number 8, the 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. 428 days of market supply. A healthy lot runs 60 days. The Grand Wagoneer was sitting on dealer lots for more than a full year, accumulating floor plan interest, baking in the sun, going absolutely nowhere. To unload them, dealers voluntarily cut $25,000 or more off MSRP. Nobody asked them to, they just did it because they had to. When a dealer freely surrenders $25,000 without a buyer even asking, they're confessing something. The original number was fiction. It was always fiction. Stellantis eventually said it out loud. They officially acknowledged that the Grand Wagoneer had strayed from the brand's core DNA at launch. For 2026, they slashed the starting price from $84,985 to $62,145, an overnight correction of more than $20,000. Imagine being the family that bought a 2025 Grand Wagoneer at MSRP. You did everything right. You trusted a brand you believed in, and within 1 model year, that brand publicly admitted the price was wrong, and brand new 2026s are now cheaper than your lightly used 2025. That's not normal depreciation. That's the manufacturer handing you the bill for their mistake.
Number 7, the Dodge Charger EV. The Dodge Charger is America's muscle car. It carries decades of meaning for millions of people. The sound, the fury, the feeling of something powerful underneath you. And Dodge went electric with it. In Q1 2026, the electric Charger was outsold by the Mazda Miata, a small, light 2-seat roadster with a 4-cylinder engine. It outsold an electrified version of one of the most iconic performance nameplates in American automotive history. Let that sit with you. Dodge's response was to add fake engine sounds. They called them fratzonic sounds, simulated V8 audio piped through external speakers, artificial emotion attached to an electric motor, and it didn't move the needle. The car still sits. Meanwhile, the Durango, a 15-year-old design, now represents over 89% of Dodge's total sales. The brand's future isn't selling, its past is keeping the lights on. At $59,999, the electric Charger asks you to pay a premium for manufactured nostalgia, while the segment it's supposed to represent runs on artificial sound effects. In April 2026, that money buys you something real elsewhere. Number 6, the 2026 Volvo EX90. $80,000. That's what people paid to be early owners of the EX90. They believed in the design, the safety reputation, the idea of owning something genuinely advanced. What some of them got instead broke their trust in ways that went beyond frustration. A class action lawsuit argues the EX90's infotainment defect is severe enough to render affected vehicles non-compliant with federal safety law. Federal regulation requires all new passenger vehicles to have a functioning rear-view camera. Multiple EX90s repeatedly failed to display one. The lawsuit alleges Volvo knew before selling the cars and said nothing. Volvo issued a recall, then a software update. One owner documented what happened after the update meant to fix things. His center screen went completely dark, the doors stopped locking, an emergency stop was triggered by a system fault, the air conditioning failed for a week. The cure broke more things than the disease. In 2026, Volvo replaced the entire electrical architecture, new voltage system, new NVIDIA processor, because the original hardware was inadequate. Anyone who paid $80,000 for a 2025 model paid to be a beta tester on hardware the manufacturer itself decided to scrap within a year. $80,000 should buy you a car that functions, not a platform still being figured out. Number 5, the 2025 Nissan Altima. This one is quieter. There's no lawsuit, no fake engine sounds, no $25,000 market adjustment, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Nissan plans to discontinue the Altima in mid-2026. The car was already depreciating around 50% over 5 years before anyone made that announcement public. A discontinued model from a brand under serious financial pressure will depreciate faster, and the buyers sitting across from Altima salespeople right now don't know any of it. The salesperson may not bring it up. Why would they? The paperwork will be signed. The buyer will drive home in a car whose value is about to fall off a cliff it didn't know was coming. It's not illegal, it's just quiet. And quiet is sometimes the most expensive kind of wrong. If you're in this segment, there are competitors without expiration dates. Choose one of them. Number 4, the Dodge Hornet. The Hornet's story begins with arrogance and ends with a tariff. It launched at $32,000 in a segment where the Chevrolet Trax starts at $20,000. That $12,000 gap demanded justification. It never got one. By the end of 2025, the plug-in hybrid version had 82% of its 2024 allocation still sitting unsold, even after dealers had already cut $15,000 to $20,000. Then the tariffs arrived. The Hornet is built in Italy. 25% import tariffs collapsed what remained of the economics. Production stopped. The model is finished. Some dealers still have Hornet inventory right now. They are not required to tell you it's discontinued. The price might look reasonable after discounts, but every discount on a dead nameplate must be weighed against a resale curve that has nowhere to go but down, with no new model year to carry the name forward and remind buyers it exists. A deal on a discontinued car is only a deal if you never plan to sell it. Number 3, the 2025 Jeep Wagoneer S. The Wagoneer S was supposed to be Jeep's electric future, premium positioning, new platform, ambition. Then someone looked at where it was built, Toluca, Mexico. When import tariffs hit, the math changed overnight. There will be no 2026 model year. The expected return is a 2027 entry over a year away, with nothing in between to keep the nameplate alive in buyers' minds. People who paid full price for a 2025 now own a tariff casualty vehicle with no successor arriving to anchor its resale value. When a manufacturer stops advertising a name, demand for the used version quietly collapses. Nobody comes looking for a car they've forgotten exists. Unlike the Altima, the Wagoneer S carries a much higher price tag, which means the absolute dollar loss from that accelerating depreciation is significantly, painfully larger. Number 2, the Tesla Model X. Tesla occupies 4 of the top 5 spots on the fastest depreciation list in April 2026. The Model X leads them all, losing over 63% of its value in 5 years. On a car starting around $79,999, that's roughly $50,000 of value evaporating in 60 months, $10,000 a year, every year, just in depreciation, not in repairs, not in insurance, just in the car becoming worth less while you sleep. Here's the irony that the spec sheet cannot cover. Tesla's maintenance costs are among the lowest of any brand, about $5,050 over 10 years. That's genuinely impressive. But when you're losing $50,000 in depreciation, saving $300 a year on oil changes is background noise. The math does not work. No spreadsheet can make it work. The engineering is real. The range is real. The performance is undeniable. None of that is the argument. The argument is this. In April 2026, the Tesla used market is the most favorable it has been in years, precisely because of this depreciation curve. Let someone else absorb the first 50%. Buy at year 3 or 4, and suddenly the math changes everything.
Number 1, any new car with an unannounced tariff premium. This one has no badge, no single model. It's a category, and it may be the most urgent thing on this entire list. Cox Automotive analysts have calculated that a $40,000 car could increase by up to $6,000 due to tariff impacts arriving in the coming months. Import dealers are right now moving to sell pre-tariff inventory before the inflated replacement stock lands on their lots. That's actually an opportunity if you know it's happening. The problem is that some dealers have already started adding preemptive price adjustments to current inventory, not because what's on the lot costs more, because what comes next will. They're charging you tomorrow's price for today's car. If a dealer tells you the price goes up next month, sometimes that's true, but verify it yourself. Ask for the vehicle's country of assembly. Look up the manufacturer's public tariff exposure statements. Compare regional listings before you sit down. 30 minutes of homework is the only thing standing between you and funding someone else's profit cushion. What connects all 10? None of the buyers on this list were careless. James knew the MSRP. The Grokale-Amers read the reviews. The Grand Wagoneer families did their research. The Wagoneer S buyers believed in the brand's vision. They weren't naive. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And that gap is exactly where the money moves. The market adjustment line hides the real negotiation. The discontinued nameplate hid the resale cliff. The 58% sales collapse doesn't show up in bold on the window sticker. The federal safety lawsuit isn't mentioned in the finance office. The information asymmetry isn't a side effect of the car business. It is the car business. The counter is free. It just requires asking different questions before you sit down. Check the days on lot data. Look at year-over-year sales figures for the brand. Pull the 5-year depreciation curve before you calculate your monthly payment. Ask the finance manager what the car is expected to be worth at year 3, and watch the conversation shift when you do. The best deal in April 2026 is not the lowest monthly payment. It's the car whose total cost over 5 years, payment, depreciation, maintenance, and insurance is lowest. That's the number that actually determines whether you're building wealth or quietly draining it. James almost paid $20,000 extra for a car with a $38,000 sticker. He walked away. Not everyone does. The people who don't end up in those situations aren't smarter or luckier. They're just paying attention to different numbers. If this video helped you see even one thing differently before you walk onto a lot, subscribe to Capital Invests and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions most people make without ever running the numbers. Your money is worth the homework.